Give me a thumbs up. More Golden Grams.
Golden Grams.
God, Golden Grams sound good.
Like more of a cinnamon toast crunch guy myself, but you know.
What are those bears?
Teddy Grams.
Teddy Grams. Fucking, I don't know what it is, but there's nothing more satisfying than biting the heads off.
Okay.
Little teddy bears.
They make like similar ones that are Scooby snacks. They taste the same, but they're little dog treats.
Oh, nice.
Things you know when you have a. I would say that things I know when I have like a 6, almost 7-year-old, but really Joe buys them for the entire office, so we have them here too.
So they're not dog treats. They just
they're cookies called Scooby Snacks.
Oh.
Yeah, but they taste like Teddy Grams.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah,
I think we have some.
Yeah, you can have a bag. I'll hook you up, dude. I got the connects.
Dude, sick.
Yeah.
I got a plug. I got a plug for my Scooby snacks.
Scooby Snacks, bro.
Well, to those who have joined, are joining, and will join in the future, it is Wednesday, December 9th, and we are joined by Josh Barber. And I guess like what is kind of an ongoing thing where we have a tendency of talking about something that's very near and dear to our heart, and that is the music industry, as Plug Your Holes has sort of become a de facto home for wayward souls that have been left behind by the COVID-19 crisis and its effect on the music industry. I believe all but one employee is a employee of the music industry, and the only one who isn't is Mike, and he's affected by it too because of the sports industry.
Still entertainment.
Yeah, still, yeah. So everybody's involved in entertainment in some way, shape, or form. And so a couple weeks ago, just to give you a heads up, we had Casey, Joe's wife, in. She does venue management, and obviously that's a pretty easy one to see how it's been affected. But walk me through. We talked a bunch about this back in April and May, and then here and there we've chatted, but you've been pretty busy.
Yes.
And just for an announcement, or an introduction, Josh Barber's a producer and engineer and records bands and makes them sound very good.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for making bands sound good.
Can you name some of the bands you've done, or do you not want to?
I've worked with Norma Jean, did a couple records for them. I worked with Hit the Lights. Recently worked with the Devil Wears Prada. Man, who else? A lot of bands on Face Down, War of Ages, Hands, Everything in Slow Motion. Just recently did a Casket Lottery record. Yeah.
And then a lot of weird metal.
A lot of weird metal.
Yeah.
A lot of weird metal, for a better term. So.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, mainly the punk, hardcore metal, death metal type of stuff. Just got done doing this band called Gravelord from around the area.
Okay.
Stuff like that. So.
And then like a good 2-year stint where you're doing almost exclusively hip hop.
3. Producing and engineering for Tech 9 out at Strange, and worked with. I was lucky enough to work with like Joinder Lucas, SZA. Gosh, I'm trying to think. A bunch out there, and of course all the label artists there.
Right.
Which is there's like 23 on the roster. So
that's wild.
Yeah, it was an interesting time.
Well, walk me through. Give me kind of a timeline of what COVID has done. Like, how has it affected your side of the music industry, and like kind of in some sort of chronological order? What does that look like for the recording engineer in the recording world?
Yeah, well, I mean, the music industry has been kind of, at least from my perspective, has been kind of slow in general. Like before we even hit COVID, there was kind of this, we're feeling it out because of streaming, because of where our royalties and mechanicals and sync stuff, where's that all coming from? So it was already in this weird place, and then COVID hit.
Right.
And so it was kind of this, okay, we got to pivot. What are we going to do? Is it mixing? Like, am I just doing remote stuff where bands are sending me their material, whether it's recorded at home or they have somebody who sends them stuff, electronics. Like, I don't know. There's this kind of like panic that happened, like what's going to happen. And then on top of it, just for me personally, I had this whole schedule planned out for this year. Mm. And as soon as it all kind of really got real, it wasn't like this looming, hey, there's this sickness. Then it's like, oh, we got shutdowns. All the phone calls, all the emails, all the rescheduling, all the shuffling, the canceling, the rebooking, like, can we negotiate our budget? Mm-hmm.
I imagine a lot of that started too with just like, hey, can we just bump everything down a month or two?
Oh yeah, it started let's push it back 2 weeks and see what happens. Hey, can we go for this month? And then, you have all these things lined up for the year, and they start, because you want to keep the guy who's booked out in June, but the guy in April's like, can I have June? You're like, well, I can't give you June. I got June.
But you also might lose June too.
Exactly.
Right,
so
right.
I got to keep them like, hey, let me find out what they're doing. So like every day I was making a phone call to some manager or some band like, hey, what are your thoughts? Where are you thinking you're going to go with this? It was kind of nuts. It was just always, it wasn't real until the stay-at-home order, shelter in place in KC, and then
which was what, like March 14th or 15th, something like that.
Yeah, mid-March for sure.
Yeah.
And I had a younger band from Fargo coming down, and literally they were leaving in 12 hours to come down. We got the order, and I was like, guys, you gotta just stay in place. Like, I can't do the record. Of course, it's their first real EP. They were super bummed, and then I'm calling all these other people and going, hey, all of this is going to push me a month. So you start calling people and they start, canceling or trying to rebook. And a lot of it was cancellations because they're just like, okay, we're not going to get the tour that's coming up real soon.
Right.
So we don't have the money to kind of survive a 2-week to a month stay somewhere else. And then there was also like, our Airbnb is going to book. That was like a very small thing. Like a lot just shut down around town.
Well, and here in Kansas City, even the hotels were housing homeless people and people that had nowhere else to go, people that had lost their jobs. They were, the city was stepping in and making sure that these people had places to stay. I really don't remember kind of what happened with Airbnb. I know that they've had a profitable year just because I pay attention to like investor stuff. But
sure.
And now I imagine that Airbnb is probably going to be doing very well.
Oh yeah.
Just because you can have the seclusion and what have you, at least on the renting the whole home side of it. I don't know if you'd want to go stay with some random stooge, but
I remember talking to somebody. I can't remember what band it was, but we were talking about Airbnb, and they had called, and Airbnb said, no, we're not refunding you. Like they were holding on to their money. And then Airbnb stepped in and said, no, you're not going to hold people's money. You're going to give them a full refund. There was this giant email that came out, so they ended up contacting people. They got their refund, and then, kind of lost train of thought on it. But there was this: the WHO and CDC had put out the first thing we knew, or we thought we knew about COVID, was it lives on surfaces.
Right. Yeah, that was definitely a major fact. I mean, I remember one of my first times going to Costco. There was like an old lady in there who like was functionally in a hazmat suit.
Yeah.
And spraying everything she touched, and now you just don't see that level of whatever anymore. Now that we know it's primarily airborne, or
Yeah, and that's the thing is there was a couple months there where they were like, oh, no, it doesn't live on surfaces. Like,
right.
And in the instance that it does, it's almost like negotiable.
It lives on surfaces. It's just that the transmission risk is very low. Yeah.
Very low. And everybody's sanitizing their hands so much and surfaces so much, the likelihood of you actually contracting it from laying in a bed is a lot lower than it was.
Right,
Not that it's impossible.
Right.
So Airbnbs were like put the brakes on. These bands are like, I'm not staying in some dude's house in a city that I don't really frequent.
Right.
So that was a weird thing. And then, okay, that all got figured out. So now everybody's like booking Airbnbs, but then, it's just like Casey, I'm sure, touched on the point, and I've seen a lot of people who work as promoters or production. It's like, okay, yeah, it might be safe, but where's our money coming from to do this? Who you might think it's safe, but like the majority of people are like, no, let's not do these things.
Right.
So, which I think is responsible. I get really upset when I see bands doing irresponsible things with gatherings. Like,
yeah, and there's been a decent amount of that, especially down south.
Yeah, it's your responsibility to keep your fans safe. If you're willing to say pick the kid up in the mosh pit, you should be willing to say, hey, like, let's not do a concert and sweat and spit on each other.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's all that going on, which means tours aren't happening, which means money, your real money as an artist, isn't coming in, because merchandising and touring is your huge moneymaker, because fucking Spotify, record-breaking profits, but nobody's getting paid.
Yeah, I've been seeing you post that you hate Spotify.
Oh, fuck Spotify. Spotify can suck all of my you-know-what. Like, fuck them completely, because I get my royalties, and I see, like, and bands, they're getting it bad, but can you imagine what a producer's getting? Mm-hmm. Like, I do these back-end deals, and I get hosed, and they literally are telling people, like, oh, yeah, we'll lessen your royalties, but give you better playlist, like, placement. Mm-hmm. So bands who are like just trying to get going are like, yeah, absolutely. So then think about it this way. Your XYZ big band. Can't think of one off the top of my head. But
Data Remember,
right? Your Data Remember, right? You shouldn't have to fight for a playlist spot because you put the work in. I've been next to those dudes in a van. They put the work in. They rose to the top, cream of the crop. But then all these bands that have no business being above them on a playlist, who will sacrifice all their royalties because they're not even getting anything now,
right?
Are going to get better playlist spots. Like say somebody gets a lot of plays or something like that, and next thing you know, you're like 5th placement next to a Data Remember or somebody.
But hasn't that always kind of existed in a shitty way? Like,
yeah,
Limp Bizkit only exists because they were paying all the radio stations to play that band. Like, that's how Limp Bizkit got bigger.
And loads of bands have done the pay-to-play thing where
yeah.
something a lot of people don't realize is that sometimes that opener that wasn't all that good or that you've never heard of paid to be on that tour. They're not getting paid to be on that tour.
But the opposite fact of that is if you're a trash band,
yeah,
and you pay and you got daddy's fucking credit card,
yeah,
you're not going to beat a Limp Bizkit because at least Limp Bizkit has something to offer to their fan base.
I'm saying before them. You know what I mean? Like before they were actually Limp Bizkit. When they I think it was either Faith or Nookie, they just like paid tons of radio stations.
But they had management. They got that
somebody
management
believed
company
in them enough.
Yeah, and they got the funding to do that.
And I'm just interested on your take of like, this is the 2020 version of that, or is this a more serious thing?
Well, it's definitely more predatory on the Spotify side.
Yes.
And I'm in a weird boat right now when I think about like new bands coming up, because I mean I can't imagine being a band that just got their first contract and hasn't put out their first record yet. They haven't had a chance to tour and support it. They haven't had the chance to build up a fan base. The record label is hemorrhaging money, isn't willing to put, and how do you even promote music anymore? You know what I mean? People aren't picking up alternative press and Rolling Stone like they once were. And then, so the only way to really do it is to push yourself into playlists or to go viral or, do something. I talk with enough people in the industry still. It's music videos and live streams, and it's just trying to get eyeballs on your music because it's such a visual aspect now.
Yes.
And trying to create like that organic following, and it's been very, very challenging over the last year for people that don't already have an established brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
To build something. So I mean, I get the desperation from these artists, and I also understand that Spotify is a company. But with that being said, there needs to be probably a little more amicable of a arrangement.
Well,
for long term, so the band, maybe they give up X amount of dollars off the front end, but they get to a certain point and they've re-earned their points back or something like that.
Well, I'm not saying Spotify is the only villain out there.
I was actually going to ask, how is that compared to Pandora or Apple Music or something like that?
Well, Apple Music's still holding everybody hostage, but they're just cool about it, Okay. Like they're the cool coffee shop that's overcharging for coffee.
Right.
Like everyone wants to be there and you're willing to pay it because it's Apple. But like, here's the problem is like all these companies, streaming companies, their whole product is something that you work your ass off to create. Mm-hmm. They do nothing. They just sit back and say, hey, if you want people to hear it because we're cool, you got to give us 30%.
Yeah, Apple's always been a little, it's just under 30%, but it's always been a little disheartening.
Yeah.
Seeing how much of your music or how much of your money goes to them. Plus, there's a lot of times there's an intermediary between you and them.
Yeah.
Even if you're not on a record label.
Well, you have to do Reverb Nation or something like that to even get it there, or TuneCore or whatever it is. And now even Avid, Pro Tools, which I work with, has its own thing where you can directly print and then they'll do placement for you.
Okay.
And it's a subscription base. But like the thing I hate, the predatory aspect of it, and like I can relate. The reason I'm so amped up about it more than I have been is I'm talking to these artists who are already struggling, who can't do their job, which is entertain people. And like, imagine going through your day, getting in your car without music or without the hope that your band's putting out this record or doing this cover or whatever. And all these things are taking advantage of the industry. Apple single-handedly killed the record.
Well, yeah.
They
sped it up. I think it would have died anyway, but I definitely understand what you're saying. We went back into singles like it's the 50s.
Yep.
And, but I also think that things like YouTube and Spotify playlists and all these things have their hand in it. I would say that I've always said the music industry reinvents itself every 20 years because of either technology or somebody coming along and being disruptive in some other way. But right now, I probably a quick escalation in whatever scale that, or however that was moving forward, has definitely happened. I think the idea of potentially being a digital only artist is probably a reality.
Yep.
That's here to stay. There might be artists who sell 1 million records or the equivalency of a platinum record, however they want to determine that in the future, and never play a single live show in their lives. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's coming. That's going to be a real thing. Like a band that I love right now that I think is doing a really good job with their art is, have you seen that band Spirit Box?
No.
Amazing band. As far as I know, they record on themselves, or I don't know if they work with somebody or whatever the deal is. It's Courtney from I Wrestled a Bear Once, the singer who replaced.
I remember.
Okay. Yeah.
Her and her, I think, fiance or husband, guy who I don't know if he was in there or not. But anyways, they create this amazing music, and they partner it with amazing visuals.
Okay.
And I know they've played live, but during COVID, they've just released one video, and I think they reworked the song and put it on iTunes. And all they do are put out singles. But they spend so much time on those things, and that they're just impeccable. And
good for them.
I think it's definitely a model for what people should be doing, because the thing is if you're not partnering content from a video aspect with your music now,
it's so crucial right now.
You're failing. Like,
Yeah,
you have to put your money there, which here's again the predatory aspect. YouTube keeps lowering their rates. Labels are like, oh yeah, we're going to take this much of your YouTube stuff. Don't worry about it, because you used to not make money on video.
Right.
You just put it out there to be like, this is cool.
Now all these deals have every digital medium included in the contract now.
Yeah. And now the funny thing is these streaming services are such a predatory system that I'm looking at labels like, you poor bastards, you're just the bank going, hey, I'll give you some money, go make the art. And then they're held hostage by this, so they're making less, which means they can pay the artist less. When you start looking at Spotify, the reason Spotify I hate so much is like when you look at the I think it's like $100 million rent or something in their New York office, and now COVID hits, and they're like, oh, we're going to pivot, but that money isn't going back to artists. They're just making more profit.
Right.
That's my problem is like art, everybody needs it, but nobody wants to like really pay for it. So I keep telling people in this COVID time, like I'm sure a lot of businesses online have seen it, like go direct to the source.
As far as you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go give to the artist. Like
buy the vinyl off their web store.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Support them in any way
I
you
don't
can.
listen to fucking 50 bands a day. I listen to this like one album until I burn it all the way out and go, okay, you're off to the side for a minute. Let me go find the new thing. Okay. And then I give to that band. A lot of bands were doing stuff with the BLM movement that I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally on board. So I'll give to them, and I get this cool shirt or this single or whatever it is. And I think we're starting to see that economy is going to start becoming real. The streaming thing, like, hey, you buy this ticket, it goes right to the band, and then you get to watch this performance, and then it goes to YouTube later, which they get residuals off that.
Right.
So I think that those are the things where artists are, like you said, the coming digital age of being in a band is not going to be like when you and I grew up, with the Rand McNally map and the van and the trailer.
Well, and also just going to a show because you just wanted to discover new music. It was you had to really hunt down music to discover it if you didn't want to listen to what was on the radio back then.
Yeah.
And now there's that kind of like trope about 100 stations and nothing's on, referring to cable TV and the rise of that in the 80s. But it's kind of the same thing. I mean, like I open up Spotify, pretty much every day, and I end up listening to maybe one of 10 of the same bands every time because I'm just exhausted with the like just being like, okay, do I really want to find something new right now? Do I really just rack my brain of something I just haven't listened to in a long time? Like, I haven't listened to Kenna in a long time. Or, like, cool, I'm kind of in the mood for that. But like now it's usually just like fucking Tycho.
Yeah.
And it's the same shit. I listen to Stories So Far.
Have you guys done your 2020 Wrapped on Spotify? I mean, or do you stay away from Spotify
absolutely
totally?
Not. Fuck the rap. Every year I put up a percentage of what they stole from artists. And like, I hate Spotify with a passion. Like, if that bald-headed fuck of a CEO was around, I'd punch him in his fucking face. That's how pissed I am about Spotify. Because when you see the check that you get and they go ahead and round up to that penny for you.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and that's your industry, and I'll go, oh yeah, that was 30 days in the studio with this band that I cut a deal for to get them in because they're financially struggling, and they're still giving me my points, and then I get this little trickle in, and then I can't even imagine them being like, God, we wrote these songs. Like, my job's easy compared to what they did. Like, I just got to come in and help them see their vision. But like, it's just such a slap in the face. Like,
well, I mean, and for those who don't know, pretty typically a band is getting paid, assuming they're independent, the equivalent of one record sold for every 1,500 streams.
Yeah.
So you really got to be generating some serious buzz to get any sort of serious money out of that. But I mean, you and I have both been in bands. We've even been in a band together. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you go to a show with a record and, you know, you might sell 50 records in a night just because people are curious, you know? And then they have that tangible thing that they're invested with. I mean, how many times do you get somebody to listen to a song on Spotify and they might just forget they ever listened to it and never come back? It's not like, you know, it's so temporary. It's you know, it's just like, yeah. So that's always kind of irritating. You know, I think maybe Pandora has a little bit better of a model where it's more of a curated list. You get the same song a few times. You're not having to search for it, but you're like, that's how I found, you know, Acceptance, you know, or something like that a band that I really like. But
they're all at fault for cheapening the art that these people are creating. They all are. Like, there's no way around it.
But I think that's the music. I mean, I will say that as long as there's been a music industry, there has been predatory behavior in the music industry.
Oh yeah, like in the 80s, they were like.
Do you think of like all the managers who were fucking people out of Motown and Elvis Presley and I mean Jimi Hendrix is there, there's a lot of like speculation he was fucking murdered, you know, by his manager.
Yeah.
So like, but there's so much, there's so many layers. Like there's what happens is people see a naive kid a lot of times, especially you know when bands are blown up or musicians are blown up. A lot of times they are quite young. They see the naivety and the opportunity and the dollar signs, and they go, I can fleece this kid for a lot of money.
Yep.
And you know, these people, you know, some of them are good at what they do. Some of these managers, you know, are worth a fair wage to do the managing, but some of them are really, really predatory.
But what's a fair wage for a phone call and an email like every other day?
You're paying for the connections. I mean, I used to make a joke. I don't know if you remember Matt Pike. He's a booking agent from back in the day.
Oh yeah.
I'm not even sure if he still does it anymore, but I was always joking. You know, he was booking a Bleeding Through tour. You know, this is a long time ago, but I remember being like, you know, when I was booking my own bands, and I would book a couple other bands as well, I would put, you know, it was a 40-hour week job booking my band, you know, and trying to make sure that we had a full schedule for, you know, 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. And I remember being like, Matt Pike just has to send out like an email to like a very small list of promoters, and that Bleeding Through tour is booked.
Yeah.
You know, at this point, it just comes down to how much money you want.
That's true, but you know, it is connections. It's time in the industry,
right? And that's where, like, and, you know, and there's also predatory behavior that happens like places like AEG and Live Nation, and you know, and all the record labels. And, you know, they have a very long history of being predatory, and you know, 360 deals, you know, changed the industry and into the favor of the label and not the artist.
Well, how do you feel about this guy that's giving money to the venues to help them?
But is he giving it, or is he acquiring the venues? Because he has $150 million. Well,
I know this deal.
Yeah, I have his name in one of my texts. I forget his name.
I know this deal, and what he's doing is
Is the Warner Brothers guy?
I think so. I think it's their connection with some big publishing company.
He's got $74 million of his own money that he's dumping into it. He's got about that again in what backers are putting into it.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing this, you know, to be a saint. There's a profit motivation on this.
Well, they're seeing the collapse happen of venues that aren't making it,
and they want it to be there when everything comes back. They don't want to. They don't have to rebuild the entire fucking industry.
I'd rather it not go away. Just want to say that. So if you're a small ass venue and you're gonna close your doors, and this is the difference of that, I think it's fantastic, the ability to keep that open.
But completely agree.
Would you let me give up half the ownership of Plug Your Holes? You know what I mean? Like to Jeff Bezos. It's how it feels though.
If we were gonna go away,
if it was like that or nothing,
then I think that sometimes that's the best option. If it's kind of like the people that go for it because they don't want to deal with the struggle anymore, that's the one that bothers me.
Sure.
I really, you know, if this person was going to be genuine in a perfect world, it should be only the people that are, no, I'm going to close tomorrow. Oh, no, I don't have to now. Great. Not the people that are, you know, just this is difficult and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are burnt out, and you can always tell. You can always tell in both good times and bad times the people who are going to be successful no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's the people who don't, like the people who in the good time continue to like drive forward, and in the bad time don't give up. You know, like it takes a certain kind of mentality, and my buddy Joe Moderazzo and I were talking about this the other day. But it's a hard one. There's a lot of predatory behavior. I mean, every industry is different, but this just happens to be one that the three of us know a decent amount about.
Yeah.
So getting back to your kind of timeline with what you're doing at the studio, at what point in time did things sort of normalize? Because I know I was talking to you in June and you were busy. In July you were busy.
Yeah.
At what point in time, were you taking on whole different projects that you're never planning on doing in the first place, or were people being like, okay, finally we think we can do June or we can do July now?
Yeah. What had happened, at least on my end, was a lot of cancellations, a lot of adjusting, or like pending, like kind of like, let's hold this date, but I don't know if we can do it. But then, you've got bands that have some financial backing or have some money touring or on labels and stuff that contact you and say, hey, we're in this position where we're all kind of available to do stuff, which is really cool. And then the problem is how you got people all over. Do you all meet up, get in the van, and travel in the van where you're just a little bubble, and come to where I'm at here in KC, or do you fly? It's kind of the comfort. I know.
Do you just chill in an Airbnb for 2 weeks before we start recording, so that I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I can imagine, and also on your end,
who has the money to do that?
No, well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Who has money to do
Again,
that?
we come back to like they're not touring,
and also you don't have time to keep your studio empty for 6 months either.
No,
and also psychologically that fucks with you. Even like a lot of the NBA players are having problems with that, and that's why they had to let the wives come in and all that stuff. Like, I don't see how that's even possible.
I think some people are going that extreme. I've seen it both. I've seen people that are really kind of like they're doing as much as they can do, as loose as they can do it, because financially. And I mean, I've had multiple bands in starting from this year. I haven't had really. I mean, I went 6 months with 12 days off.
Yeah,
I've been working my ass off. Like, and now I'm getting to the tail end of that. But like, the problem is we're stacking it so tight, and then there has to be guidelines. Like I have to say, okay, well, you guys have to quarantine before you come here. I need to know you either have a negative test or blah, 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 or you have to wear a mask. It's really hard to do what we do with something distracting you like a mask.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you have
especially
to,
I mean, like anybody who's I mean, you even just watch a documentary about a record being written. It's 6 packs and smoke breaks. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of guys sharing a pizza. It's working until 4 a.m. It's an entire thing, and like every band does it a little differently. And this is how we write.
Yes.
So,
I had to tell my intern. He just came on, and I had to tell him all the time. I was like, the inside jokes are going to change, the schedule's going to change, everything's going to change. So like what you're used to now, go home. You got like tonight to like relax before they come in and we reset. But everything's going to change because they might be more sensitive. I just did a record with a band that have 2 significant others that have immunocompromised systems. So we had to be like super careful, really distance. Everything was getting sanitized. We have somebody clean the studio. We had to kind of up the procedure there. So like it's just been like crazy because every project is different. And I've had people come in that want to be completely irresponsible about it. And I'm like, listen, we're not playing your game. You're coming into my world.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm safe.
We're not mask people. I went to go look at a puppy the other day, and some lady was like, well, I wasn't sure, if you guys are mask people. I was like, I'm wearing a fucking mask. Yeah. What does this mean? What do you think? I'm just going to rip it off and be like, never mind, let's have
tricked
a beer.
you. Yeah. I love disease.
Fuck you. Just wear a mask.
It's so easy. And like, here's the thing. I had a discussion with a band that wasn't very pro-mask. And they're like, blah, 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 this. And, they went down that, tinfoil hat road with me. And I was like, listen, I would rather have the insurance. Like, if I was stupid, this is where my brain would go. But I believe in the mask thing. But if I was stupid, I would still wear the mask to be like, just in case I'm wrong. Because, dude, how many times did the CDC change their guidelines?
Yeah.
We're figuring this thing out. This is like, my grandparents went through the Great Depression, the Dust Bowl. I don't know how many pandemics they saw.
Well, probably not many, but they at least went through a bunch of wars and.
Well, during Woodstock there was a pandemic.
Yeah, there was this.
What?
No,
no.
There was. It was the first H1N1. It's the. There's a name for it. It happened in 1968, and it lasted 2 summers.
Look it up.
Yeah.
It's real.
It's the most deadly flu.
How the fuck am I 33 years old? I never knew that.
Dude,
That's
my
crazy.
mom was at Woodstock, and I was like, "Did you all wear masks? I'm like, apparently you didn't distance. Like, y'all are fucking in the mud and shit. Like,
yeah.
It's like it was not as bad. They said like go out, don't go out. It's kind of like the government didn't get involved.
But it had a really, really high fatality rate.
It was
and
the
super high.
H3N2.
H3N2. What was its nickname though?
SARS.
No, that was in the 90s.
That
Or
was
the early 2000s.
Holding hands too just said SARS on the
Oh no, SARS.
the
So the things we've had
Instagram Live,
we've had MERS
which I'm Milo Pups, by the way,
in
guys.
like 2001. Oh, nice.
I'm just letting them guys
Oh.
on the Instagram know because
the
like I keep
avian.
commenting
Was it?
because my
Was it
phone's
avian flu?
alive.
It wasn't the avian. It was
So
Milo
why,
Pups.
why the fuck is this dog talking to me?
avian flu is just a category of flus.
2020 is
But
crazy.
there was a name for it, like the San Francisco flu or something. It had a name, but
yeah.
but anyway.
But just putting it this way, I talked to my grandparents who have seen a lot of shit. My grandpa was in the war, like all this stuff, and they even said and they're not like just poo-pooing. They're like, we've never seen anything like this.
Oh yeah, I asked my mom that when we first started this whole thing, I dropped off some groceries for her at the beginning because she was concerned that I believe she had thought she might have it, and so I dropped him off on her sidewalk in her front yard so she didn't have to leave the house. And we were kind of talking at a distance, and I'm just like, have you ever seen anything like this? Is this the craziest shit ever, or am I just being hyperbolic?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it's crazy. And my mom is like, definitely not that kind of person. She's like, everything's fine, kind of about everything, and thinks everything's blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
And no, she's like, this is fucking wild.
Well,
So
what I love is all these people, and I hate the term boomer because it's such a hot term right now, but it's true, is all these people that are like, you guys, you didn't go through a war, and you didn't blah, 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 and all this stuff. And I'm like, then why can't you wear a fucking mask? Like, if it's this easy,
yeah,
just put on the fucking rag. Like,
yeah, yep, I agree.
They used to hide underneath their desks during the Cold War, worrying about fucking bombs and shit going off. You can't wear a mask. You know what I mean? It's like you did that thinking about the severity of what was going on, and you practiced that.
I can't
Why
breathe.
Than just doing something simple that you
Maybe put down the Pall Malls for a couple minutes.
Yeah, no shit.
Put on it.
Yeah.
I am out of shape, and I run a mile in a mask and do squats and bench press. You can wear your fucking mask.
Yeah,
it's
fine.
not that hard.
I think I'm gonna make a clip at the end of the year, the best of 2020, of the How the Hell Did We Get Here podcast, where how many times do I say wear your fucking mask?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just
I just
Every
want
episode.
that montage.
boop, 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 boop.
Yeah.
Wear your fucking mask. Wear your fucking mask.
Just wear your fucking mask.
This dog fucking telling you to wear the mask.
Yeah.
I wonder. That's got to be the downstairs guy cutting stuff. We get rid of we're slowly getting rid of all of the other tenants in the building, and the one guy who saws things is directly beneath us, and he only saws things one day a week, and it's always when we're
During the
always-
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even a day off. And he wasn't cutting shit yesterday.
Hey, man, he's just happy he has a job in this COVID era.
No,
Like, yeah, let him-
he doesn't have a job. He's just making something. It's his dad's spot.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's why. Okay.
Yeah.
It's bowling night.
Yeah. Nice
Yeah.
enough guy. But
He made a VW bus, right?
yeah,
That's what
he
he's
like
working on?
tricked out a VW bus.
Out of wood?
No, he just did all the interior like you do a convertible.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right.
It'll be interesting to kind of see where this thing, the whole thing pans out. With what would you say, what percentage of bands that were on the books for this year ended up recording this year, and what percentage of the bands that did record ended up being bands that you had no intention of recording in the long run?
Well, I think I got 60% of what I booked.
Okay.
And the 30% were things I wasn't expecting.
Okay.
And then there's 10% that's just kind of this weird amalgamate of those two options.
Okay.
Like, I didn't
Somebody
get
you
to
may be
do...
talking with about doing something down the road, and they're like, fuck it, let's come in this weekend, or let's do...
A lot of people wanted to come in really fast like that, and I had to turn them away because I'm like, no, I need to know that you guys have stayed in place for 10 days and da-da-da. And then also, some stuff's like production, which is really easy because they can just send me their track, and I can just add little things to it, and then... That was weird. I haven't really done that. And I kind of started getting into new avenues.
Okay.
Instead of just being a producer and engineer. So that was cool. I got a couple of projects that were off the cuff, but now it's quiet because we're getting through the end of that. I have all the maintenance that I have to do, so I got to shut down. But then next year, all the leads I had, everybody I was talking to, we're all in this stalemate. What's the second wave going to look like? Touring's probably still not coming back. Records that we're supposed to release, we were going to push them way later, are pushing way earlier. So does that mean I'm going to have another
because
wave?
people's schedules are opening. They're like, might as well take advantage of the fucking time off.
Yeah.
And then release this thing when we can get on a tour.
Yeah, absolutely. And the touring, I mean, I don't know how many times I have this like hands thrown up thing from the bands. Every time I talk to them, they're like, well, that tour is getting rescheduled or canceled. Like now it's just getting to the point where they're canceling, and just the scary thing with that is like, imagine the wave of booking that's going to happen.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be
And
wild.
you're not going to be able to squeeze in.
No, it's
So-
going to be cream of the crop only.
Oh yeah. It's going to be rough. So I feel bad for all the artists, and
I
I'm
think
really
there's going to be even exhaustion that comes from it. I think people are going to be exhausted from going to shows.
like Silverstein. I just noticed that they rescheduled for the fourth time, and they dropped their Kansas City date
Yeah.
because probably the venue, the promoter, the person in contact there doesn't work there anymore,
Oh yeah.
and they probably were like, let's skip it. Let's just go straight to Denver, or Chicago, or Dallas. Wherever their routing is. So.
Have you been in contact with? I mean, obviously you're in contact with a lot of bands, but of the ones who do this professionally, who depended on this for their paychecks and things of that nature, how are they doing? Kind of. I'm assuming I have a little bit of an inclination that the ones who are doing really well are riding it out just fine, and the
Yes.
ones who were struggling to begin with are probably struggling more. But like, what does that look like? What does the barometer on that look like?
Well, so at the top end, the guys that are financially okay that I talk to, they're just concerned for everybody that falls under them.
Yeah.
So like, is the guy that we constantly take out doing merch and sound, like, are they going to be okay? Can we find little things for them to do?
Right.
And then also being smart financially, where you're not just pulsating money out into these people where you can't take care of yourself. Because it's kind of one of those things, like, I can't save you if you're drowning and I'm drowning, I can't save you.
Yeah, you'd save yourself first.
Yeah, so preservation takes in. But at the tippy top, those guys are just really concerned about everybody that they've worked with and the relationships they've had, and they're doing the best that they can do. You step down from that, bands that kind of rely on touring and generating money off streaming and stuff, they are in this weird, it's like PTSD. It's like you're used to being on a tour right now. Like your body's telling you, do this, or you're doing these things. And like, I know guys that have gotten little small day jobs just to like offset money. And in fact, this one band that I know on the East Coast, they all would do bar backing in between tours because they'd make good money.
Super common thing for a lot of guys to do when they go home.
Yeah,
and
but
gals.
Yeah.
Bars are fucked.
Yeah. Turns out.
So you can't do that. So they're like a couple of them going back to school, like doing some online courses. Some guys are, significant others luckily make enough money that they can skirt by and things like that. And it sucks because that changes their home dynamic. So then you got this band guy who, to be absolutely mentally healthy, has to do a tour or play with his buddies, is stuck at home bothering the missus or the mister, just like sitting on their ass playing Warzone, which that's another thing I think I love is like, I know a couple people, my manager included, he's doing a podcast. He's always on Twitch doing Fortnite or Among Us. Like, I'm just dying laughing because like his content's amazing right now because he has this whole other set of talents that like I'm just watching him on Twitch, just like dying laughing. Like
2020 is definitely the year of the podcast or live stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people just picking something up. I joke around about it. Like pseudo envy. Like my neighbors, they've been working from home for 9 months. A lot of my friends, Shane, a lot of people we know.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I really wish I could have picked up a new hobby in 2020.
Yeah, I wish I had the fucking time to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, between both of us got new houses, but between moving and all the shit you had to do at your house and then how crazy plug your holes has been, it's like, man, 2021, can I take a break?
Yeah.
Can I pick up a hobby?
I kind of want this lull that I see happening. I'm scared
But
of
I'm thankful that didn't happen. Just want to put that out in the world because this is live and stuff. And
No. I'm not bitching
the
about
juju out there.
Yeah, no. Everything's been amazing.
We're thankful for everything.
I never signed up for any time off. It's just funny talking to people about all the new shit they're doing.
I get you, but you just look at it. I've been envious of some, like the what's his face, Johnny Carruth.
Oh,
who's
yeah.
been doing all this woodworking.
God, he's
and, like,
killing it.
Yeah, he's murdering it. I love
He's
it.
doing so much cool shit, and I'm just like, man, in New Jersey / New York. So it's just to see him being successful out there is great.
Dude,
Yeah, a lot of people I think have been able to sort out a year. A lot of people, like, I talk to people all the time who are like, I'm gonna start a business someday. And they never do. And a lot of it's that they're just so fucking swamped with their real life opportunity, their real life stuff, that's 6, 7 o'clock at night when they get home, they just don't have any more energy left.
Oh yeah.
And they might be able to do some weekend warrior stuff here and there, but I think 2020 is the year of, like, it's a lot of entrepreneurs are going to be born. A lot of side hustles are going to turn into full-time hustles.
Absolutely.
Necessity is the mother of all invention. And when you got,
go get yours, man. Like, now's the time to do it. Like, if you were lazy before, like, the problem with lazy is you're lazy because you have stuff going on.
Yeah,
so,
some people, yeah.
But now, like, nothing's going on, and your laziness turns into your own self-disappointment. You're like, I could do something.
Yeah.
And now they're like getting it done.
Or if you're already the kind of person who's motivated, that good job can easily, all that energy that you were once expelling now needs to go somewhere else. If you're the kind of person who needs to get that energy out. It's it'll be interesting. I hope the best for people, and obviously a lot of people have. I've been a believer in e-commerce for a very long time, clearly, but I think a lot of people have given the opportunity to step into, like, the e-commerce world and really, create something for themselves in the same way that I was able to, and that makes me very, very happy. So.
Yeah. I do worry still about people that do not have the ability to thrive in this, that are kind of at the mercy of circumstance aren't making money, and it's like my heart breaks for them, and we have to kind of always, like, I'm always asking people, are you okay? What do you need? Like, can we figure this out? Like, there's a balance of being safe and then also being, I guess, secure.
Yep.
Like, you can be safe, but sometimes you're not secure.
Well, especially when it comes to financial security. There's a lot of marginalized communities and stuff too that are dramatically differently affected. We're 4 very lucky, very successful guys that are in this room right now, and it's easy for us to forget that, like, you have a tendency of surrounding yourself with people like that when you're in those kind of positions, and forgetting that there are entire groups of this country that are not being protected by some of this, they don't have maybe the fallback plan that you did. They don't have maybe a couple extra bucks in the bank or something like that.
And I'm tired of the excuse of, like, well, just pull yourself up by the bootstraps. It's like, yeah, I get that.
That can't happen. You can't.
No.
Yeah, what are you supposed to do?
Not everybody has a fair shake right now. That's for damn sure. If there was ever a time where everybody didn't, it's now.
Yeah, no joke. It's becoming more apparent to the people that say shit like that.
Yeah.
And I hope that they take from this, like, okay, reach into that community and help these people, instead of, like, sit there and be like, well, if you would have worked harder. It's like, motherfucker, we can't work harder right now. Like, it's really hard for these people. Like, we need to kind of, like, come together. And I can only refer to that in the music industry. I've helped a lot of bands out. I've taken a dive on budgets to make sure that the thing I hate is when, like, I've seen a couple things, like, with producers and stuff, that they're sticking by their rates. And I just feel like,
they don't want to cheapen the brand.
Yeah, I'm like, no, listen, like, I'm going to be fine if I take a little less on this thing right now, because this band is not generating revenue.
Right.
Like, I'm in a very good position where I can do some of those things, and not like I'm some fucking, great guy for doing it. But at the same time, I just think it's anybody taking advantage of anybody right now is weird to me.
Well, we should be doing the exact opposite. You know? We should be lending out a helping hand. I mean,
look at how many great businesses like yourself that do sales and stuff like that, so people can kind of have a sense of normality and, like, oh, I can do some self-care. I can look good in these plugs around the house.
I mean, that's what makes us motivated here as a company, is that, like, plugs, they're silly little things you put in your ear.
Yeah.
We all make fun of it, as a joke that way, but it's serious, that, like, sometimes that little glimmer of, like, that $30 you spent that day to buy that and waiting for that to come in, like, is a little piece of enjoyment that you get.
Yeah, like, imagine being on that Zoom call and you're super proud of the jewelry you just got, guy or girl, and somebody goes, hey, those look really nice. That helps you get through that 3-month stretch where nobody said something nice to you.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Yeah, it's weird. I think we were in a very fortunate spot earlier this year where we had the opportunity to support some charities that support Black Lives Matter. And we really, we're looking for other opportunities every day to be able to support things. I think the one thing that's really discouraging, though, is that there is a large enough group of people in this country that need more than what they're getting right now, and to see kind of the way that the talks are stalling in Congress and stuff is kind of frustrating. That we're going to do some stuff. I mean, hey, an extension of unemployment benefits, an extension of the eviction moratorium, an extension of the, these things matter. They don't get me wrong, they do matter.
Yeah.
But so there's $1,200 in the back, in your hands right now to take care of some shit.
Absolutely.
For the holidays, so your kids don't. It's like I grew up real poor. I know you didn't grow up with a lot of money either.
No.
And I know what it's like to have next to nothing for Christmas.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to feel that struggle, or hopefully my grandparents were always fairly okay with money, and it was I know what it's like. Like, no kid earned this.
Yes.
Even if the parents have led a life of terrible decision making, that child did not.
No human deserves
No,
that.
I agree.
Like,
And this is-
period.
I'm a big believer in UBI and a bunch of other hippy dippy bullshit, but
It's not hippy dippy.
no, it's not hippy
bullshit.
dippy. I just know that
just-
some people get super aggro about it, but yeah, I'm like,
Everyone's gonna
we
have
live
everything.
in a society
story.
that thinks like that kind of thinking is like weakness, which is really weird
yeah,
to me.
Yeah.
every time you bring up UBI, there's a certain type of person, and to be honest, they're actually a certain type of person who I agree with on a lot of other points. I think it's just the entrepreneurial, like, go get it, like, fucking take life by the balls or whatever. But the thing I hear all the time is, well, then you're just gonna have a bunch of people sitting around doing nothing but playing video games, and okay, sure, but I don't think somebody who's not sitting around playing video games right now is just gonna do only that. If they have $12,000 a year to show up. Two, it's going to give a lot of people opportunities to do things that they've never had the opportunity to do, like maybe take 10 hours of working off their plate so they can build up their own brand or company or something. And on top of that, if people can get by on $12,000 a year and sit in their apartment and play video games, and that brings them joy,
Yeah.
who am I to tell them
Yeah.
no?
Fucking rock and roll.
Yeah, like, whatever. I don't care. There are people who make millions of dollars playing video games. So,
Do you want that person to be slaving away at a Walmart or some place like that just so they can go home and do
or
that
just
video
taking
game?
up space?
Yeah.
It's like,
Doing a
I don't
job
mean
that we could replace with down the road.
Right,
I
I don't
don't
mean
think
that
there's
in an
anything
anti-
wrong with a Walmart job. I've worked at Walmart.
No, but they're all going to go away.
But I'd
be
rather that
aware.
person just be sitting at home doing something and gives them enjoyment instead
Yes.
of having
Well,
to.
The other thing is like, do you think that they're sitting there in an absolute panic, going, where are groceries and rent coming from? Playing video games because it numbs that like, I just want something to like pain relieve that panic. I don't know how many
Distract
times
from reality.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like, and then that money comes in, and you're like, all right, I'm good for a month. Thanks, government. See you 6 months later. It's like, that is not a bad person, like,
Nope.
at all. Like, nobody needs to live your version of the American dream to be a hard worker.
Or contribute in any
Yeah.
way, shape, or form. I mean, I also think about how many people could afford to be stay-at-home parents. How many parents could afford just do something more with their lives too. So I think there's some people who would definitely do that. I just don't hold the particular animosity towards them that some people do.
Yeah.
But I also love opportunities and giving people some sort of even starting point as often as you can, so that people have the same opportunities, whether they're born with a silver spoon or are in the gutter.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, man, I didn't start here.
no,
None of us did.
No, none of us did.
And sometimes it takes.
Except for Mike, his parents are doctors. Fuck him.
Damn. Whoa. Can I borrow some cash, dog?
Definitely the black sheep in the family.
Yeah, right. I want to kind of end it on this, just because it's. I think it's something that I've been curious about the entire time.
What band was Josh in?
No. how many bands and musicians and artists in general you think are going to recover from this? We've talked at length here about the venues that are going to close, and record labels and all this other stuff, other elements of the industry. But one thing we haven't really brought up is how many bands are going to be able to weather this and actually come back and perform, and especially these ones that were working towards or currently actively doing it full time.
So I'm going to say something that's going to sound super shitty up front, but that's just me. But I'll give a definition of this. The ones that matter will.
Okay.
And that saying is, if you actually give a shit about this, you're going to last it. You're going to overcome it. I had a multiple of these bands that they're on labels. They are doing fine. It's funny, their mentality is different than any band that hasn't quite gotten there, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Is they're like, hey, we do this for ourselves. The money is ancillary.
Yeah.
Like the fact that I had a band and we got done with this big project, and we're standing around in a live room tearing all the stuff down. They're like, man, it was never about making it or making the money. Like, this band's been around 15, 17 years, and they're just like, we're just happy that we do make money, but like, we would still do this if we had
Even if
day
it was
jobs.
just like, hey, this is what we do on the weekends.
Yes, like if they were the kings of the weekend, they'd still be doing it. So if you had that mentality, say you're a young band and you're hearing this, you're out there and you're just following this podcast and you're still in the garage, like if you're being lazy and you're not using this time to plan out who you are, you're gonna die.
Yeah, you're not.
You're gonna move on to the next band and the next
yeah.
band, and it's gonna be this constant death of your band and resurrection. Whereas the ones that are gonna last are the ones that are like, we will do this if the power shuts off. We're gonna do this no matter what. So that's why I say the bands that matter, because if you care about it and it's still art to you and you still love doing it and it keeps you up at night and it keeps you at your guitar way past the time you think, or, like you get home from that job you've taken and say you work at Walmart and you go home and you put the 6 hours in on the guitar and you write a full-length record during COVID, you're going to make it. You're going to be fine. The ones that won't are the ones that are doing this for a fashion show. They want to be cool.
There's a whole other category too there that I think that I can speak a little bit of this from my own personal experience and also just witnessing it in other fields as well, is that sometimes maybe you do something for a little too long because you are successful. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, hey, if I was in Jimmy Eat World, a band that's been around for 25 fucking years, that all you got to do to pay your mortgage for the years is go on a tour.
Yep.
You might not like tour anymore, but you might just go on that tour just because it's your job.
Yeah.
When you're told you can't do that for 2 years, this might be the kick in the ass that says, I got to figure my shit out.
Oh, yeah.
Figure out that next thing that I'm doing and use this as a catalyst that, turns the page to the next chapter.
Yeah, just expand your vocabulary and then return to the day job aspect once you can. But I guarantee you all those dudes have written so much music that are out there and they're ready for the next. They're positioned to be like, okay, when it's safe, when we can be in touch with our fans, we're going.
Anybody who loves doing this is dying to get back.
Oh my gosh, they're all. Yeah. Everybody I talk to is just losing their fucking minds right now. They're just like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. It's their life.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for it to come back. I think that one thing I try to remind myself and everybody else of is that it won't be a light switch. It's going to be a slow dimmer. And it'll come back in waves over months and maybe pull back a couple times based on outbreaks and stuff. But
what the important part is,
it will come back.
It's going to come back.
It's going to come back, and I can't wait to come out of Mosh Retirement and do a stage dive.
No, I'm going to do it too.
Yo,
at this point, I'm going to,
you and I hand in hand.
No, I'll sit crossed-armed in the balcony with my drink like I always do. So
I'm going to be in the back of the venue judging everyone.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Or I might go up front for like Newfound Glory or some shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just being in there. And, woo. I remember that the 10-year anniversary, I did that. I was like young. I was older at that point. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna rush up there. And it was like a fucking movie scene because I got through the middle of like just the pit. How do you have a pit at a Newfound Glory show? But just a bunch of people running around, hanging out, and it was like all my friends from like different shows and shit that I was like, and I still remember to this day. I was like, that wasn't a dream. That was real life. I don't want that to happen again,
dude.
I want somehow to go to the thing, go to a show, and go in Lawrence maybe, or if it's at the Truman or something, just go to the middle and
the last thing I did before everything shut
Crawford
down.
in
there. The last thing I did before everything shut down was go to a show. I don't go to shows very often. I mostly due to being a dad and nightlife stuff. But I drove to Omaha to watch Everything in Slow Motion and Cities Never Sleep and Names Without Numbers, and just to see friends. These all three are friends bands. You don't get that many friends in one night very often.
No.
And drove to Omaha, drank a Surly because at the time we couldn't get it here. Had a great fucking time, and then and then everything went black.
Didn't we go see Tycho in the middle of all this?
No, we saw Tycho before this. That was the end of last summer. It was like
you're right. I got
August or September.
Everything's blending.
I know.
Point.
But yeah, I'm excited for it to come back. I think I'll probably take shows a little less for granted.
Oh yeah.
Being just my life has just been so.
I literally could walk into the Truman anytime I want to most of the time.
Yeah,
go give my wife dinner. I bring it to her anyway. But I would be like, cool, I saw a song and leave.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be like, cool, I'm going to go hide in the back for an hour.
Nah.
Like, how many dates of Warped Tour have you done? You know what I mean? How many shows have you played or just been to? It's just one of those things. There are probably combined between all of us 20, 30,000 sets of bands that we've seen. I mean, I can think of there are bands I've seen hundreds of times. I've seen Every Time I Die over 100 times. I've seen Newfound Glory over 100 times. I've seen Bayside over 100 times. It gets a little exhausting sometimes. And then you think of all the shows you played, all the openers, all the all that stuff, and it's like, okay, it's easy to take it for granted. But seriously, this last 9 months has sucked. So
Yeah.
let's not take it for granted anymore, and really take care of the music industry when it comes back. So.
Yo, everybody got to do this. You got to fire off your pandemic snack combo.
Okay.
What is it?
Snack combo. I'm trying to. What have I been snacking on?
What's the pandemic combo?
I don't know.
I'd like to see what people in the chat say too. Like,
I have not been eating much.
I have a quarantine sandwich that we have.
okay, you start. You go then. What's the quarantine sandwich?
The quarantine sandwich is something we found off of New York Times, and it was
Okay.
like what you can make out of shit in your fucking pantry.
Yeah.
It's a piece of bread
Okay.
with you could toast it if you want, but you don't need to. Peanut butter,
Mm-hmm.
pickles,
Ooh.
soy sauce,
Whoa.
It's wild.
and that sriracha kind of like paste.
Oh, okay.
The
Yeah.
chili paste that they make.
Chili paste. Yeah.
Yeah, and you put that together in a sandwich.
Dude.
Spicy peanut butter
It-
sandwich. Kind of tastes like Thai food.
it's
Just
fucking
one
great.
piece of bread or two? Like, do you?
I think actual
it's a
sandwich. So you
okay.
make a sandwich, but you got to put a lot of peanut butter on both sides. You got to put peanut butter on both sides. You put a very light thing of the soy sauce.
I was gonna say that's where I would ease
Pickles,
back.
you got to use you got to slice it up so it's not just like a giant ass pickle.
Yeah.
And then depending on
What the hell was that?
Christ.
Yeah, that was Mike's headphones falling on the
Oh,
ground
okay.
behind us.
I've been
depending,
shot.
depending on your spice level, that sriracha paste you put on there, and that becomes like kind of the jelly of the sandwich.
I like
And
that.
It's really fucking good, and I keep telling people that try it, and they're like, you're crazy, you're this. And I'm like, no, it's really good.
That's
And
awesome.
So me and my wife Casey, we have it every Sunday. We have one of the quarantine sandwiches.
I don't know. I don't know if I have a quarantine snack per se.
Well, it's anything you've been ingesting regularly.
Yeah, so I'll give you mine, and it's definitely going to involve alcohol, as it does.
Yeah.
The last 2 months, something I've really enjoyed, as if I do have a drink when I get home from work, is I make iced coffee with Bailey's.
Oh yeah.
And
it's like a cold Irish coffee.
yeah, it's fucking awesome. Yeah, because usually I'm like I don't want to drink and be tired, but I don't really want to drink a ton of coffee, so about half coffee. Well, about half coffee, quarter ice, quarter Bailey's.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been delicious.
I'm off caffeine. I've been off caffeine for over a year.
Yeah, I
now.
remember you see, I got there, and then I fell back into it this year.
Nah.
We have Red Bulls in the fridge now and fucking everything. I drink probably.
My intern imported in Iron Brew from Scotland for me,
Okay.
and I had one, and it made me feel sick.
I
'Cause
bet.
Caffeine was like, nah, dog.
Yeah,
this
I've
isn't
realized
gonna
that if I don't have caffeine, I get a headache. I used to think that was a joke. Oh yeah, whatever. And I was like,
Oh no.
oh, I feel like shit. And Casey will just look at me like, did you have any caffeine today? And I'm like, no. I
No.
guess I gotta go get a fucking can of Red Bull like
Yeah.
a crackhead.
It takes me probably 4 weeks to wean myself off caffeine.
Fucking weird.
Like,
I
I
don't
can
have
go-
that time to do that though.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
To be like, what's the matter? Not that I haven't had
No.
Red Bull.
I what I do is I do wean though. So if you just do it slowly, where you're not brain dead the whole time. So
Yeah.
be just set a limit. Okay, well I've been drinking 2 Red Bulls a day, so I'm gonna go to a cup of coffee and a Red Bull, and that's all I can have for a couple days, and then I'm gonna cut the Red Bull out and I'm just gonna have coffee, and then I'm gonna start cutting the coffee back a cup at a time. A couple days. That works for me pretty well, but.
Man.
I do love. One thing I've never really gotten rid of is coffee. I drink at least 1 cup of black coffee every morning, and I love it. I love coffee.
Guys, someone on the chat just keeps saying, please say hello to Shark Girls from Brazil. I don't understand.
Shot girls from Brazil.
Shark
girls.
Shark girls from Brazil.
Yo,
Hi,
Shark girls from Brazil.
I don't
Yeah, there you go.
understand
Hey,
why.
send me a T-shirt. I'll wear it.
Shark Girls from
I
Brazil.
want Shark
All right.
girls from Brazil.
I didn't know there were.
I really hope this isn't.
Does it mean something?
I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
really
I
hope it
Are we
doesn't.
signaling right now?
Yeah, did I just support a group of
Or did
Yeah.
we just turn on a bunch of Russian spies or something?
They were
that's the code
activated.
word? They're activated.
We activated a
Shark
sleeper
Girls
cell.
from Brazil.
Shark
I'm
girls.
gonna
There you
end-
go.
I'm gonna just.
You're welcome
before,
from Future Design.
Before we go real quick, one thing I think is very funny that happens in our YouTube comments all the time is we get these weird comments you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the ones
at 20
that porn accounts.
It'll do a timestamp thing.
Jesus.
It'll do a timestamp thing that links to 22 seconds into our video, and then it says love the sexy legs. And it will be from an account that has a girl in a bikini, and then there'll be another one and then they'll start interacting with each other.
Yeah.
And
The
it'll be
bots talk to each other.
The bots
Yeah.
talk to each other. Yeah.
About our
it'll be
sexy legs.
And then it'll be minute 56.
I love your legs.
It'd be minute 56. young girls. You know, like you're just like, what the fuck is going on with our comments right now?
That's amazing.
So anyway, if you ever see any of that, some of the comments, we don't take it down because we think it's hilarious.
I wouldn't take it
And
down. Let it be.
Yeah, unless it starts becoming something super foul.
No, it's
or-
only like 2 or 3. I think it's because of the way we tag it. It might be the fact that we have plugs as a tag, because that could be other stuff.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, that could be the
But
trigger point.
before we close, I just want to ask you. We were talking about the Spotify thing. Fuck Spotify, fine. But there's the top 5 songs, top 5 artists.
Yeah.
Mine showed me that it was Frank Sinatra. This
Ooh.
band called Tennis that I really don't listen to. And my third one was Casey Musgraves. That's why I'm wearing my Casey Musgraves shirt today. 'Cause
Nice.
This
Wow.
looks like a hardcore shirt.
It does.
It does not look like.
I never would have guessed that
a
was Casey
fucking-
Musgraves. Yeah.
I
Casey Musgraves
literally
shirt.
thought you were supporting like
Well,
Dynasty or
it's
something. You
got
know,
the
like,
thing on the back. That's why I really like it. I
Yeah.
appreciate her for having merch that appeals to anybody that likes her music, which I
Yeah.
think is fantastic. What
I
is your
couldn't tell you a
least top,
single song by her. by the
top
way.
3 of that?
top 3.
Yeah.
Well, if I had to like right off the top. By the way, Frank Sinatra for real. That is always on in the background.
It's always my top number 1 for some reason. Every year.
Wow.
It's crazy.
It's because
Giving him all that Spotify money.
I won't put it in there because it's always on. So that's kind of
Gotcha.
you know I have that in the background constantly. That or the Rat Pack or something like.
Right.
Dean Martin. Oh yeah. Anyways, I would say Lorne is one of my top listened to artists. It's like my all the time it's on. I don't know if you've ever LORN.
I believe I have, but I don't recall what it sounds.
Lorne's very dark. I don't know of any artist that sounds like it's real electronic type
Okay.
stuff.
Which would explain why I wouldn't like listen to it a bunch. I do like that kind of stuff in particular moods, but no, it's not something I'm like a.
You seriously feel like you're in a cut scene from the movie Seven. It's just
Okay.
yeah, it's
Okay.
great.
I can get behind that.
Love that. I've been listening to a ton of Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross scores.
Okay.
Like I'm getting into scoring myself,
Right.
so like that's I identify with what he does. I've actually never really been a Nine Inch Nails fan until like with the last 2 years when I started listening to more scores. And then the third I think comes down to a tie. Been listening to a lot of Spirit Box. I think they're amazing.
Cool.
So that one, and then, man, I'm gonna have to weed somebody out, and it's like breaking my heart.
You just put them both out there. It's fine.
So Spirit Box for sure, and then the next one would have to be Straight from the Path. I just love
I can get behind that.
straight like I would put those two together because I've been listening to a lot of that. I'm a little biased because of my manager being Tom from Stray, but
Right.
I was always a fan before he became that. So yeah, like Stray's just with the climate right now, it's just kind of like, you know, every rich white kid's got something to say.
Yeah,
Shut
yeah.
the fuck up right now. Like,
and wear your fucking mask.
yeah,
Yeah,
wear your fucking mask. I want that song from Stray.
There you go. You'll probably get it.
What about you, Sam?
Puh.
There has to be at least 3 artists that you've been listening to. Even if, Sinatra comes up as mine because I've been home more and more listening to more stuff and, doing more background work than I would normally. So that's why instead of it being some random pop punk artist, which there are tons of new ones on there.
Well, I know what mine are going to be. Don Broco is definitely one of them. I listen to a lot of Don Broco, just kind of my like get moving kind of jams.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of Tycho, like an almost worrying some amount, because that's my chill music for everything. That's my Frank Sinatra. And then for number 3, man, there's so many like weird little go-tos I have. It's definitely going to be something in that like pop punk realm. It's probably Real Friends Composure.
Ooh.
Composure.
I put that record on a lot. So
I need to get into Real Friends. I haven't really dove down there yet. So.
That record is the one.
Yeah.
I mean, like their other stuff is good, but that record is a banger. And then I do listen to a decent amount of The Story So Far when I'm doing pop punk stuff.
They're great.
So
You really mad at an ex. That's the one to put on.
yeah.
So the album name is Composure by Real Friends. I would see. I thought you said Balancing Composure.
Oh no. I do like the band Balancing Composure,
Yes.
but Composure by Real Friends, great record.
Okay.
It's has that like that pop sensibility, but like a lot of like layering and stuff.
That's awesome.
It's a great record. So
Killer.
cool.
Well, my third technically would have been with Confidence.
With Confidence. Who's
The
that?
band that because there was that band Tennis that screwed up my top 3.
Oh.
Someone has my
Somebody had your Spotify account.
something. Yeah, it's really strange. Like I enjoy the music, but not to be number 2 underneath Sinatra, in between Casey Musgraves, because those are 2 artists I listen to a lot.
Right.
With Confidence, they have this song called Moving Boxes. It's like a newer pop punk band, and I've recently been listening to it a lot. So
Okay.
yeah,
Sick.
just wanted to put that out there.
And if you wanted to know what gets played at Plug Your Holes the most, it's definitely, as of right now, it's MGK, Kanye, and gosh, what would the third be?
The pop punk playlist.
Yeah, it's just like nonstop pop punk, and like also like loads of
Which we have we have Plug Your Holes playlist on Spotify. So
Yeah,
look
so
it up.
look it up.
And,
There's all
we
sorts
add
of shit
songs
on
to it
there.
all
Oh,
the
yeah,
time.
that's great.
But yeah, all right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you. We have lunch waiting for us, so I guess we can go eat.
Oh shit.
Totally forgot about that. I'm still hungry.
I am very hungry.
All right, bye everybody.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
We'll see you next week.